Here's a challenging message from the senior minister at the Paradise Assembly of God Church, Pastor Andrew Evans.
This morning, the subject I want to speak to you about is the subject of the secret of contentment. The secret of contentment. I feel that if we could learn how to be contented in life, in whatever situation or whatever circumstance we would be in, we would have discovered one of the greatest secrets of living. The secret of contentment. And I want us to turn to Philippians chapter 4, verses 11 to 13. And I want to share with you here from this passage some of the keys of contentment. Verse 11, Philippians chapter 4 says, "Not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content." Notice he said, I've learned to be content. "I know how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I have learned both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." I want to share this morning two illustrations of two men who were in similar conditions. One learnt the secret of contentment and was able, under difficult circumstances, to rise above it. The other, who didn't learn the secret of contentment or know the secret of contentment, his life ended in tragedy. The first is a young man by the name of Bobby Sands. Bobby Sands was elected to the British Parliament for the area of Northern Ireland some years ago. To be elected to Parliament, of course, is a great honor. It enables that person to be involved in the realms of power of the nation, to have a voice in the direction of the country. It enables that person to have security for the rest of his life, to be in a well-respected role in the community. And so this young man, Bobby Sands, was elected to Parliament. He never went to Parliament. He never ever took his seat. For Bobby Sands died in a Northern Irish prison. He died of hunger. He had actually fasted himself to death. The reason for his fast was that he wanted to bring attention to the world. What he felt was an unfair situation, and that was that he and many of his country people were interned in prison without trial. He was saying that he had no opportunity to defend himself. He had no opportunity to go before a judge and a jury and present his case. There he was, interned in that prison without trial. He didn't know whether it was going to be for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, how long. And so he went on a hunger strike that lasted something like 60 days. And finally, we find Bobby Sands passed away. A number of his colleagues passed away as well. Now, the reason I give you that illustration is this: that these verses that I've read to you from Philippians 4, was written by a man in jail who also was interned without trial. His jail conditions were far worse than Bobby Sands. For in his jail there was no electricity, there was no television, there was no carpet on the floor, there was no concrete, there was no proper beds. He just slept on the ground in a cold, dark dungeon. No sanitation. And yet this same man who didn't know how long he was going to be there, whether it was going to be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, or for the rest of his life, could say this: I found that in whatever state I am in, there to be content. He had learned the secret of contentment in life. This morning, I wonder whether you are contented in life. Are you contented with your lot in life? Are you contented with your job? Are you contented with your family? Are you contented with your husband or your wife? Are you contented with your church? Are you contented with your home fellowship? Or is there discontent within you? Then, brother and sister, if that is the case, this story and this sermon is for you. Now, Paul, in sharing these points, demonstrated the state of his total content in the midst of a dark situation. And we find in that particular passage, he writes in verse 4, rejoice in the Lord always. And again I say rejoice. How could a man interned without trial in a prison, not knowing how long he's going to be there, write such words as that? It was because he had learned the secret of contentment. Now, in verse 11, we read there, he said, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. And when we have the word learned there, it infers a teaching process with a teacher. And brothers and sisters, God, our Heavenly Father, is our divine teacher. You see, God hasn't put us on planet Earth and said, well, here we are. You got 50, 60, 70, 80 years. Make the most of it. See you later. When you die, you can come up and see me in heaven. No, God hasn't done that. He has placed us on this world. And Paul understood the teaching program of God. Do you know what the teaching program of God is? It is found in Romans chapter 8, verse 29. God is teaching us and wanting to develop us so we come to the level where we are conformed to the image of Christ. In other words, God is looking at you and me and he's saying, I want to change you, I want to teach you, I want to develop you, I want to make you like Jesus Christ. Like the character of Jesus, who when he was reviled, he reviled not again. Do you revile when you are reviled? Well then, God says that shouldn't be. I want to make you like Jesus. When he was threatened and when he was abused, he turned the other cheek. And God says, I want you to become like Jesus in your character. These old ways of getting angry and aggressive and bad-tempered and critical don't please me, God says. So he says, I want to change. I'm your teacher.
And in all my life